It was just an incredible feeling because of the history behind it. I mean, we're talking about one of the ancient wonders of the world. It's actually built by man, not a natural wonder of the world, but an ancient wonder of the world, but built by human hands. Not aliens, as many people say, okay, but by man. And so from that perspective, it was simply incredible to experience that, and just to look back and say, how did they do all these things? Because we seem to think in the modern world now, we have all the answers, and cell phones and things solved the world back. They didn't. People evolved, and they learned to progress in their lives and do things to take the weight off of human. They discovered tools and the wheel and those sorts of things to create all that. But to move the amount of stones that were required, simply amazing. Well, the main thing that I was interested in Alexandria was because, from a history standpoint, going through school, that concept of the Roman Empire and all of those elements were taught to us. So I had a lot of knowledge about the Julius Caesar and Mark Antony and Cleopatra and Alexander the Great and all of those elements that made up Alexandria. But what I learned was the mixing of the Roman and Egyptian cultures and how that's actually created. I think the most impressive thing, which probably isn't a surprise to you, was the Roman theater that we went to yesterday, and the acoustic demonstration that you gave me in one of the amphitheaters, which, again, no technology created. It was all natural design, and yet it was an amazing thing. The Egyptian Museum today its architecture was a little bit more colonial, and it has to do with, of course, when it was actually built. And so I respect that historical pieces of it. I love architecture, and that was the one thing. But I'm sure that the Grand Egyptian Museum will be very grand, but it will be much more modern in design, and that might be a contrast in terms of the pieces in the exhibits that are there, which are 3,000, in some cases 3,000 or 3,500 years old, if not older, versus a possible design that allows more natural light in, as opposed to an older style. But I am hopeful the Grand Egyptian Museum has air conditioning. Well, my book is going to be actually out sometime in 2021. While it's going to include Egypt, my book is called 2020, How I Turned Humanity's Greatest Challenge into My Biggest Adventure Yet. And basically what I'm doing is taking a year review of all the things that I've had to deal with this year, from the COVID aspects to how it affected my vacation, to how the restrictions and lockdown affected a single guy trying to live his normal life and do the things that he does in order to just essentially survive, whether it be go to a movie, which we couldn't because movie theaters were closed, how I handled my life and how I turned all those quote-unquote setbacks into an adventure. This is the place where civilization was born, in this particular region of the Middle East and Egypt in particular. Don't let anything crush your dreams, and always continue to move forward. You can certainly, you have a set of guidelines that you need to live by, but you can also challenge those. My motto is always, grow your limits, but know your limits. I would just like to tell everybody that it's been great. My time here in Cairo, my trip to Egypt is still, I've got a lot more to do, but my time in Cairo for right now is done. I can't even express the amount of knowledge that I've gained by having Sherif as my guide, but just experiencing the culture on my own as well. So continue to live your dreams, and there's more to come.